Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
And what is going on, everyone, is a very special edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also Nerd Initiative editor-in-chief. To my left, you're right at home. Because it's in his contract, he does his own intro.
Coming at 11 direct straight from the ODPH studios. My name's Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur, Ken, AJ, and Mike. Thank you, and it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. And like we said, this is a special edition because there is a book that is currently on FOC until Monday, January 20th. You need to make sure you run down to the LCS this weekend. Don't wait till Monday. You need to make sure you have this book locked and loaded in your collection for when it's released on February 12th. Because trust me, you're going to want to find out why everybody is talking about sex, buzz, and rock and roll, because we are very fortunate enough to have the creative team behind Image Comics' new smash book, The Hive, with us. Writer AJ Lieberman and artist Mike Henderson. Mike, AJ, what is going on?
How are you guys? Hi, Ken. Hi, Tom.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming on. This book is a lot of very cool elements mixed in for neo-noir, crime. Like, how did this whole story come about? We'll start there.
I've wanted to do something with bees for a long time. I was just trying to figure out the best way to approach it. There are a lot of great comics out there that deal with animals, so I wanted to stay away from that. But at the same time, I knew it was like, when I think of an idea and I develop it, I have to think of the artist at the same time. And I thought of Mike. And that kind of affected the way the story was developed. And I knew I wanted to do something with bees in an interesting way. When I had studied them, learned about them, and I just really wanted to apply the societal structure of a beehive and map it onto humans in an interesting way. And that's how it came about. That and the term hive mind is where I started.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's very interesting.
And then I sent the pitch to Mike, and I got in touch with Mike through my daughter. I don't have Instagram, so I got my daughter Rebecca to hit up Mike and swear that it was me and not a 13-year-old girl. So. And we I think he sparked to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, because we hadn't talked. Probably close to 10 years, I think.
We go back. Yeah, Mike and I go way back to when I worked at DC.
Mm-hmm. And, and we hadn't talked in quite a while. So yeah, it was a interesting message from your daughter. But yeah, you had a couple ideas I know kicking around, but this was the one that kind of spoke to me. Because I've been working on Forged for a while, and that's so design heavy in the sci-fi elements and the fantasy elements of that. And I was like, oh, I don't have to design anything. Great. Yeah. And it was just this, sort of cool, sort of neo-noir sort of style that I was looking to do, and sort of in my free time. And when we first started this, I was kind of fitting it in between everything else. Yeah, that's how it all came together.
Mike's been doing the Forged since he was 12.
Yeah, feels like it sometimes.
Now, right from the start, the opening sequence is extremely in your face. When you're plotting out a story like this, how important is it to draw that line and set the pace that early?
It's funny. That's a great question because, selling the book and doing the book, at least for me, are two very different things. And I had made a promise to Mike that whatever we did for the pitch, we would use in the book. But at the time that we did the pitch, I was working on the first, the outline of the first 4 issues. And things changed. So I couldn't use, I was planning on that scene that, to be the pitch pages were going to be the opening of the book, like page 1. Of the pitch would be page 1 of the issue. And I realized that put us too far into the story. But I had also made a promise to Mike that we needed to use those pages, so it wasn't a waste of his time. So it was just by kind of the story and the characters like dictating, like we can't really start where we thought we were going to start because we're too far into it. We don't have enough information yet. So then I backed it up, worked our way into kind of introducing everybody that you see in that kind of cool. Mike has a beautiful 2-page spread where, and then we just kind of use issue 1 to kind of meet everybody that we meet in those first 3 pages.
Yeah, because it, like I say, it really catches you right up front, and especially with being such a very adult focused story. When you're coming up with concepts for this first issue, was there anything that you had to hold back on that you're like, maybe this is too much out of the gate, or is it just like, no, we really want to set that bar at this level, and this is where it's going to stay throughout the entire run?
What do you think, Mike?
I think, yeah, there was some stuff early on, kind of when we were figuring out, were we going to do this as a graphic novel? That was a discussion at first, and then we decided that it would be monthly, and then it was a question of, how many issues are we going to do per arc? How many cliffhangers are we going to need? And then we sort of broke it down that way, I think, in terms of how much we were going to try and get into each issue and how deep, I think, into this whole world we were going to go. But I'm a big fan of slow burn stories a lot of the time, but this is one that just you need to just drop people into the middle of this and let them figure it out for themselves. And I think this first issue does a really good job of that.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is the kind of the elephant in the room is the ability that the Hivers have, and it's not spoiling. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say that their ability similar to actual bees is that they can control certain vibrations in the air, which then allow them to take control and connect various people. They can connect 3 or 4 strangers together in a hive mind effect. But on a 2-dimensional page, we needed to be able to figure out like how to show a reader that these words are different and they carry a certain weight versus these other words where they're just dialogue. And it took us a while to kind of figure out how to show that, how to show the effect on a person. And the 3 of us, Mike, myself, Anaki, shout out to Clayton Cowles, who I worked with on Cowboy Ninja Viking. He gave us a great idea about the lettering. So, when somebody reads the issue, it'll take a second to understand, like they'll see it almost like out of focus. And that's the indicator of that these words are causing an effect on people.
We needed a visual cue that was pretty instantly recognizable. We tried a few different things with, just almost with the characters vibrating, but the more we thought about it, like, no, this needed to be a voice that it needed to be verbal. It's something the reader was going to read out in their own heads and hear, for themselves.
We tried circles and different things, and it became like too much Marvel. And looking back now that we're done, I'm glad we did it because less is so much more. It's so much subtler.
No, it definitely works, and we do have some of the promo art from issue 1, and it really kind of illustrates it too, because when you see the initial setup of the hijacking going on, you have the tension built, and like I say, the pages just pop here too. Like I say, Mike, the artwork here is phenomenal. And then when you start getting into what is happening, and you see on the left screen there, or the left page, that's where the effect has started going with the blur.
You can see it. Yep.
Yeah. Like that's such a subtle technique, but it works because then instantly you're like, wait a sec, what is happening? What is going on? And you can see the effect of what the bees are doing and how it's connected and the whole plot, which I'm really trying hard not to give anything away. But trust me, audience, you don't want to miss this issue when it comes out, because as you're seeing how this is all playing out, it's big action. And say the little subtle techniques are just going. And then especially how this all like plays out, like I say, is going to be one on the 12th. You absolutely don't want to miss on February 12th. But it's those little techniques, like I say, it connects easily to know like there's something very different going on here. And I think as a reader, that's always refreshing.
Yeah, I think I mean to my mind, it's another way to get the reader more invested in the characters. It's a different element on a two-dimensional page to understand like, oh, this is happening. It almost looks like the way I was describing is if you're looking at something through like 3D, but with 3D glasses, but without the glasses, you have the red, blue. That's the kind of effect it has. So when you're looking at it, you're going to see like you're going to have a visceral like this. There's something wrong with the printing process, and it's like almost interactive on a two-dimensional page, which I think is a testament to the story.
Now, speaking of the story, this is a very adult-focused story. So kids don't get this one on your pull list. Younger kids. The bigger kids, absolutely. When you're coming up with this, is this a liberating thing for you, or did you have to like really hold back considering, what you've done in the past?
Well, I don't think we have. That's the great thing with Image. We didn't hold back on anything at all. The freedom to take the characters where they need to go. There is a lot of sex. There is a lot of violence. There are a lot of bees. And we definitely, if you like any of those three, not even in that order.
Yeah, we got you covered.
We got you covered.
Yeah,
and when I'm sorry, go on.
It wasn't a particularly big departure for me. The Ford is a pretty adult book. There's a lot of nudity, a lot of violence and gore in that. So it wasn't too big of a departure, but set in a different place, in the real world, as it were. It's just a different tack to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it definitely works too. Like I say, from where we know you from, Nailbiter and Cowboy Ninja Viking, and like I say, to see you really take this creative role and just really go with it, and especially with, as you alluded to, I mean, the sex and the violence is a very big front and center piece. Is this going to be a recurring theme throughout the entire run? Would you say, without giving?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a lot more of I know what Mike draws really well, and if I can embarrass him when I'm writing the script, then
and then it's my job to kick it back and embarrass you back if I can.
Like Easter eggs on the page.
We need to dial that back a little bit.
We have each other on speed dial. Don't worry. So, but yeah, I mean, I love like crime noir, and I wanted to bring these two worlds together. In a way that is completely unexpected, because I'm sure people who are listening to this are like, well, where are the bees? Like, how do the bees fit in? Mm-hmm. And it's really just a metaphor, how society is structured, how a beehive is structured. As much as we can put in with actual bee, like the main character is named Mason. There is a type of bee called a Mason bee. Mm-hmm. There is a queen. There are hives. There are colonies. Some of the terminology is all factual, but it's really like I think bees are a great metaphor in this story for what people do to each other.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, just after reading issue 1, and especially seeing the cover for issue 1. And Mike, I just have to ask you about this, because this cover, I think, really kind of captures everything. When you were thinking about, like I say, this is what's going to catch the readers first and foremost, the concept of using the bees as bullets. Like, walk us through like how this all came to be for this, because like I say, this is just like a very striking image when you see it.
Yeah, we had a number of sort of classic, comic book covers ideas that we tried out. We did a bunch of roughs for different ideas of the usual kind of cover, but I think we both agreed that we wanted something more design oriented that was just going to be, kind of pique people's interest rather than give anything away. And obviously to lean into the crime, we wanted a gun and we wanted some bees, and they just kind of naturally align themselves up,
Yeah. Like it stands off on the shelf. Like I say, when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? And like I say, to get that emotion out of a reader, I mean, that's what exactly the cover is supposed to do. And I say, when people open up, you're going to see a whole new world with this world. And it's going to be one that like I say, I can't stress enough. It is a very new take that goes into especially the neo-noir side of things. And for AJ, is that ever like a trouble trying, like, what's the biggest challenge about writing neo-noir, would you say?
Like, I think you have to find the right setting, and you really have to find the correct, the characters and what's the story, and those characters, kind of dictate, and the setting kind of dictates, the effect of the neo-noir, and the fact that we've set it very specifically in Florida. The back swamps are going to come into play soon. I had talked to Inaki, at least from my point of view, the dictate was, even if we're outside and we have a scene out in the open, it needs to look like a 1970s porn. Like it's just, it's got to be like that orange glow. Like it's got to look seedy, dirty. So that to me helps the the noir part of it. The setting, the story. Then it's really the execution of the idea that then needs to happen.
Yeah, and to shout out Inaki, I think if you'd colored this like a DC book, it would not have the same vibe. He nailed the tone of this. To put any reader into that neo-noir headspace on the first page.
Oh, agreed.
Now, AJ, you were saying that, when you knew that you wanted Mike on this book, did you start writing your characters and giving him the instruction on exactly how you wanted them, or wanted to see what he was able to send back to you, to influence each other and work off of each other? Where did a lot of these character ideas come from?
I think we both work pretty well, although we haven't talked in a while. We both work the same way. Mm-hmm. We're pretty diligent about what we do. I sent him script pages, and then he makes them better. He will obviously do stuff that will say, if I look back, I say, you know what, I don't need these three. We don't need these 3 panels. We can just go from here to here. Or if conversely, if I'm like, we actually need another shot, we have to be inside the truck looking out because we missed this piece. It's a very kind of easygoing back and forth working relationship.
And at least as far as the characters are concerned, typically I take more time to design characters, on their own character sheets and that sort of thing, a really involved process. But I didn't have as much time on I designed a lot of these characters on the page, which I think sometimes is a little more organic and sometimes comes out with a better result. I think particularly with characters like this in this sort of seedy world, I think it helped because I didn't really overthink it too much. I just kind of dropped them in there and they just sort of formed on their own.
It's the less is more kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
But that especially works when you want to do the slow burn, because you don't want to tip your hat about everything that's going on. Like I say, with the initial character of Mason, we only know that he is a very low level character in comparison to the Queen. And would you say, without giving too much away, is everyone and everything just a pawn to the Queen, or how would you describe that dynamic?
Everybody's a pawn to the Queen until they prove otherwise. And that's what will happen. The Queen is the most powerful piece on the board, but royalty sometimes falls, and sometimes they fall in a bloody way.
And the pawns can take a queen.
Pawns can become queens.
Yes.
Yep.
Now,
well, if they transition.
True.
Mason.
Fair.
Yeah.
Now, we were
Not that type of book, though, Tom.
fair enough. Now, when it comes to you were saying about the blurring and everything. As far as these abilities or how things are being affected, very much like a hive mind would be, are we going to get any backstory into how they're influencing the world around them?
Yeah, we're gonna find out. I guess two things. We're gonna find out how they have this ability, and it will open up to let's call them civilians, bystanders.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff that I write, I try to base on a semblance of scientific fact, and then extrapolate it out into what I would call, let's call it comic book science.
We know that.
It's a good term. Yeah.
So it is, everybody resonates. We all resonate. What we will find out is why these people have this ability, and others don't. And there is a unique reason for that, and that very reason will be a huge point in future arcs.
Okay, so I'm going to try and beat around the hive here, metaphorical bush. Is the hive and the hive mind and the queen and all that, is that something that has been a long established like secret society, without giving?
Yeah, I don't even think it's a secret society. They're just people. They're like, it's they are just trying to live their lives. And as we meet in the very first scene, so we're not even spoiling. I don't even think there are that many spoilers in the first issue, but there is a part of the colony who kind of wants to live their best life.
Okay.
Shay, who is our queen and is running the colony, really does not think that's safe. That with their ability and the public finding out what they can do, they would end up, I think, almost studied and picked apart. And she lives more in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Mason enters, the two kind of warring factions of the same colony. Mason is introduced into this, and then pretty soon after, the shit hits the fan.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, the tempo's already set at issue 1. We do know this is ongoing. How far in advance have you plotted out for this without giving away too much?
I've plotted out a decent amount. Here's my greatest hope. Forget the next arc and the arc after that. My greatest hope is that people just give us this first 4 issues as a kind of proof of concept. They're oversized, I think, right, Mike? They're 28 pages.
Yeah.
Right, and issue 4, I think, is 32.
I think it's 32, 32 or 34. Yeah.
Which Image doesn't know about yet. Hello. But I think my greatest hope is, I will say that I wrote it out on the second to last page, if not the last page of issue 4. Something happens, one word is said, and the world will expand in a really unexpected way, but 100% organic to what we've created in those first 4 issues. And if we can just get people to the 4th issue, when they see that word, and it's literally one word, that will just kind of blow open what Mike and I have created, I think people are going to really dig it.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's completely unexpected, but once you see it, it's absolutely, why not?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
All right. See, now I'm trying to go back through issue 1. Like, okay, what's this?
You would not know it from like it. There's little things in there that you certainly layered in that you'll see, but it's almost like a puzzle, and it's working. We're working towards something that it's one of those things like it comes out of left field, but it's completely organic to this kind of cool world that's been developed.
Okay. I mean, I'm
dead serious. It's one word.
Yeah, I'm not sure you could piece it together from even one or issue 1 or 2. You'd probably have to get all the way to 3 before you could.
Maybe, but by the end of 4, you will. It's going to do something because the next design element. It's just going to blow up and expand what is really becoming a cool universe within this the Hive story.
I mean, I'm already locked in about this series, but now I'm fully invested to get to issue 4 because, like I say, what was already set up in 1. Like I say, there's a lot of stuff going on in issue 1.
Yeah, we were bouncing back and forth. Like, did you? Think about.
Yeah,
yeah.
Before we came on air, so to see about that, I mean, and just to hit the one word, especially to get the proverbial mic drop moment, especially on fans that are going to read this and get that reaction. I think that's so key too, because you really see now there's so much word of mouth, especially with social media, just to get to that issue 4 and then just to have that moment and see something go like that.
We actually, if I remember, we actually took out something that was very big that will get pushed into issue 5 because we wanted to, to Mike's credit, we wanted to like open it up, kind of declutter it and let the art kind of just have center stage. But if you can stay with us for 4 issues, it's going to be cool because it's a cool reveal.
I'm in.
I mean, I'm definitely in.
I'm stuck like honey. I'm in.
Like I say, would you see the art that comes up there and the story behind it too? Like I say, how could you not? Just in this little action sequence alone. And
those are the pitch pages that we did for the pitch, and then I think they come in at like page 13.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, about halfway through.
Yeah.
Like I say, just that little tease alone is enough to get you going. And then once you dive into the story, like I say, there's a lot of layers to this, but the big payoff, like I say, you can tell it's definitely a slow burn build, which is amazing. Because I always think when you do too much too soon, that's when you can lose the audience. But how you have it structured for this, I think is very, very well done.
Yeah, I think putting aside the end of 4, which kind of closes the first arc and then springboards us into a whole other spectrum of the world. But I think what we both wanted and we both kind of really honed in on was ending each issue with a like, oh, we want to see what's like, if that's where this ends, where does the next issue go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's very key too.
Yep. Now, with a story like this being so different, compared to a lot of other things that are out there nowadays, and a lot of stuff is getting picked up by, say, streaming services and whatnot. Has this ever been a consideration that, if this kicks off so well that you could be adapted into live action?
Oh, I mean, I think first and foremost, it's got to work as a book. I mean, that like if it doesn't, I've done enough work in LA to know that a lot of people kind of try to reverse engineer stuff, and like the screenplay didn't sell, so let's make it a comic. Mike and I definitely have discussed it's got to work as a book. Everything else is just comes after. If
it works as a book, then it can go that road if it comes to that.
Yeah, I don't think you should. I don't think any creator worth their salt is like going into like, I hope like here's my comic so I can have a TV show. But that's we really came because this is such a very specific idea. Like when you talk about like it's the societal of bees but mapped onto people, the look is like, but trust me, it works. I don't think that's like a pitch any Hollywood executive is expecting.
They should.
Well, the thing about it though, it definitely works on the comic level.
Yes.
Because when you first hear it, you're just going, wait, what? And it just because it catches you off guard because you're not thinking those three elements together is going to produce what would you see, and then you open the first pages and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And then by that time you're already wound up in the story of what's going on with Mason and the journey there, and he's just such a small part of this too.
Right. You have Fallon, you have Ash, you have Noah, Benji, you have all these people that are in this hive, this family, and you have the bigger hive who is run by Shay, the queen. But I know, you mentioned, the FOC, and I will only bring this up because I've called about 60 or 70 LCSs over the past like 3 or 4 days, literally Colorado, Texas, Oklahoma, Carolina, and calling these stores and talking to the people who like order the books and saying, Mike Henderson, AJ Lieberman, The Hive, have you heard about it? What's it about? There's such a long pause when you explain, and then when they kind of get into it, they see it, they look up the art, and then they get the response has been great. Maryland, Texas, North Carolina, a lot of very good comic stores.
Yeah, and I can only imagine this is going to take off word of mouth too. Like I think after people see the issue on the stands February 12th, they're definitely going to get wrapped around it because, like I say, there's really nothing like this on the shelves right now. And you just take away from this the simple concept of, sex, violence, bees, and it's really just this story of power, control, and just how it kind of sways with human nature. Like I say, there's so much going on with this. In how you've been developing the story, what has been your favorite creator or character to write? And Mike, which one has been your favorite character to draw thus far?
I'm gonna go with Fallon. I think is my favorite to draw. It's no secret I like drawing the ladies. And
Fallon's a stripper. Why'd you go there, Mike?
So I get to do plenty with Fallon. Shay was a close second though.
Shay the queen.
Yeah, but Mason is fun. I'll give him that because he's just such a 2-bit loser most of the time. It's just fun to draw. Just this guy just getting shit on all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Fallon. I like Fallon and Mason because they come together, and although Shay the queen is a close second or third because she's so strong as a woman.
Yeah, she's a force of nature. That's what I like.
She's
a huge presence. Yeah.
Now, because
there's a strong female lead, I think is like it's always nice to see.
Yes,
yes,
absolutely,
1000%.
Yeah.
Now, one big thing is you do have such a large cast of characters. Did you find it difficult to be able to make sure every character had their time to shine? Whether it's just not only just hearing one, but going all the way out.
Yeah, that was tough, and not everybody will survive, even in the first 4 issues. But I think when we were coming up with the story, I think I cut maybe 1 or 2 and kind of consolidated. And thought, this group allows us, a cut to a different place, and we can go over here. We're not stuck. We didn't want necessarily a book where there's only like, if you look at some books, they're like maybe 2 scenes in the whole book, and I think we needed to kind of be able to go more places, which then dictated the longer issues.
Yeah. There are a lot of cuts in the first issue, especially shorter cuts, I think, from scene to scene. And there was some concern early, I think, about trying to fit and introduce all these characters. But we were able to introduce them kind of as a group in a few cases. And I think that helped a lot. It saved us some real estate to kind of play with some of the other characters a bit more. And then it sort of the room expands a bit in the second and third issues.
Yeah, because I mean, you just want to give the audience just enough so they get hooked, and especially with the cast, and you can already tell it's going to be a big one as it starts progressing. I mean, and as you alluded to, not everybody's going to survive it, because in the life of crime, just, somebody always winds up catching it. That, you're going to start seeing these characters get, taken off the board. But it's just one of those situations where, as a new reader, you're jumping in and there's a lot to process with it. And I think for building a new world, that's always a little challenging, but it's always something very appreciative for the reader, because if you get everything at once, you don't get that payoff. But there's enough that you get a good sense of everybody, that by the time issue 1 wraps up, you're already invested to go to issue 2. And I think where the cliffhanger leaves, it's a perfect spot for it.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, done on purpose. Where Mike's art really, the one thing that we kind of did on purpose throughout the 4 issues was put in more than a normal amount of 2-page spreads, which were written in because of like what Mike does so well. So people will notice, like, literally page 1 is very cluttered for like over maybe 6 or 7 panels.
Yep.
So when you get that page turn, you get a cut in a movie, you turn the page, and then it, like, you see like this beautiful port down in the Florida. But everybody that you meet on page 1, you will then meet again throughout the first issue. So by the end of the first issue, you've met everybody you need to know for the next 4 issues. That's the group of people we'll be following. There might be one other person that's not in that's not in page 1, but that first scene, the first 3 pages, we then meet everybody that's in those first 3 pages. You get to know who they are and how they start winding up in that position on page 1, 2, and 3.
I can't wait for the audience to find this. I really can't.
Yeah.
So like I say, this is going to be a book that I think fans are really going to be talking about. Very excited, to especially kicking off the new year. This is one that, trust me, as you hear us say this repeatedly, it is so important to get to the FOC done this weekend, done early, get to the comic shops and make sure you got some issues lined up, because you will not want to miss this when it hits the shelves. Trust me. Tom, am I lying here?
No, not at all. He's stinging right on the
exactly.
He's getting right to the point. Trust me. I had so many B puns ready to go. Like, seriously, this thing's like royal jelly. You're just going to eat it up.
Yes, but it really hits with a different dynamic into the noir story.
Yeah.
And the artwork pops, the writing's on point, is everything you want from a new issue. And it's going to be one that will hook you in right at that last page. You're going to be going, where is issue 2? Immediately.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a big investment for 4 issues. It will lead you somewhere. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's me and Mike, but we ended on a place that I really think people are going to be hopefully just surprised in a great way and just eager to say, like, that, where are we going?
Well, you can just send us, the proofs. We'll just double check it for you, just to figure it out, and just give you a little feedback.
Yeah.
And we worked really hard. We were just making changes yesterday for issue 1 before we approved all the pages. I just did a rewrite. I just did a rewrite on one of the panels. So we took it down to the last moment. But it's the arc itself is, in its totality, tells a great story. And then, just like I said, I can't overemphasize, one word into the next arc changes everything.
I seriously can't wait to read that. I mean, I'm already locked in, but as our guy Chris from the Bada Boom podcast was chiming in right now, he was saying this wasn't even on his radar, but now he has to check it out. And that, trust us, you are not going to want to miss the Hive #1 when it comes out February 12th from Image Comics. And we can't stress enough, the FOC is this weekend.
Yeah.
Get there early, especially if you're in the Northeast. It's going to be snowing. You want to make sure you get it done. Oh, yeah. We got
a nor'easter probably coming through.
Yep.
Nor'easter. I don't know.
Yep. Sub-degree temperatures. It's going to be very, very rough this weekend. So that's why we're saying go early to the comic shops.
Yeah, it's like my ex-wife is rolling in.
Tom coming in with a hotline right there.
Hey, Tom. Issue. I don't even want to pick that up.
Nope. We'll just,
but go pick up in your FOCs. Make sure.
Yes, but make sure you get signed up. And guys, we can't say perfect. We just got to throw this quote up here. Somebody is at the comic shop right now because Chris is just saying he pulled it right now. So boom, right there. Be like Chris, because you know you're going to want to make sure you pick this up at the shops. AJ, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us. We definitely have to talk after issue 4, so let's make sure that we do that again.
100%. I would be eager to see what your reaction is.
Yeah, thank you so very much for giving us the opportunity to talk about it before this hits the shelves. It is fantastic. We want to wish you the best of luck with this whole run, and we cannot wait to see what comes out of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. We will end this like we always do on Turn a Page. When you're at the comic shop and you have a great issue in your hands, such as the Hive #1 coming out February 12th from Image Comics, and you see somebody struggling to find something, hand yours off to them. Tell them to turn a page. We'll see you next time.
I'm out.